Troy, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing good, thanks.
Two topics. First, and we'll save the Giants-Cowboys for last, folks, since that's obviously what everybody wants. First, Brady Manning. Maybe for the last time. We hope not. But let's, from the eyes and the senses of a Hall of Fame quarterback, let's put them both in perspective. When I bring up Tom Brady and the quarterback position, what stands out to you?
Championships. You know, I mean, when I think of Tom, I think of him a lot like I think of Joe Montana, who I think is, in my opinion, is the greatest that I think has ever played the game. He's, you know, the guys that I've seen. But, you know, I think with Tom, you know, he's a winner. He's done it with a lot of different personnel. Not many can say that. I think the thing that's really helped him is having a guy like Bill Belichick who doesn't want to do anything other than coach football. I think he's benefited from that. But I think what people lose sight of with Tom is, you know, because he's got the supermodel wife and the great looks and everything else, they don't appreciate just what a great competitor he is. He puts in a lot of time. The game's serious to him.
He's a football guy is what he is.
He's a class act.
Yeah, and he's a football guy. You're right. He's got the pretty boy looks and the whole big-time jet-set life, but he's a football guy first. He really is.
I'm a huge fan of his. I think he handles everything exceptionally well. When we saw him after the game the other night with the officials, or we've caught him on the sidelines this year when he's, you know, been very demonstrative, everyone tends to react to that because he's able to kind of contain, you know, his fire pretty well. But he's very intense, and that's why it's come out when we've had a chance to see it. But that's not unusual. I mean, he's pretty motivated. He's pretty driven, and you know, he obviously is the reason why that team has done what they've done.
All right, his counterpart. And last night, NFL Network did something interesting. It was a little bizarre because Bill Walton with injuries was never the equal. He should have been, but he was never the equal of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but they brought up that rivalry. Chamberlain-Russell may have been a better one, and they talked about the classic rivalries. But Peyton Manning, when you think of putting it, and you've been asked to do this a lot of times, but how about Manning versus Brady? What stands out to you about Manning?
Well, with Peyton, you know, he's done it with a lot of different people as well. He hasn't had the infrastructure, I don't think, overall, you know, like Tom Brady has had. I mean, all Tom Brady's had to do, and again, I mean, I hope everyone understands what I just said about Tom, but what Tom has been fortunate enough to get to do is just play football. And that's what I got to do while Jimmy Johnson was the head coach in Dallas. And when that's taken away, it puts a lot on your plate. And I think Peyton has handled all that exceptionally well. He comes into the league. Jim Mora was his head coach. They struggled in the postseason with him. And then they brought in Tony Dungy, and he was a defensive guy. And Peyton continued to do the things that he does, and they win a Super Bowl. And then he goes to, then Caldwell takes over as the head coach, and, you know, Peyton still continues to do the things that he does, and then he goes to Denver, and, you know, he still continues to do the things that he does. And I've seen, you know, what I do every Friday is go to these practices and watch these teams. I've never seen a quarterback in all my years do more on the practice field than Peyton Manning, and I know that then carries over into the game. I don't think there's anyone who's ever played the position who does more during the week or does more on game day than Peyton Manning does. And you know what? I don't want to take anything away from the guys who have coached him, but Peyton Manning has carried a lot of people to a lot of successes. And I just think that he's very strong-willed. He's essentially a coach on the field. If there's one guy, if there's any great player who can go on and become a great head coach in this league, I think Peyton Manning is that guy, and I wouldn't say it about very many people.
Is one guy in your mind a better thrower than the other?
You know, I'd say Tom Brady right now, certainly post-surgery.
Right now he's got a stronger arm, but in their prime, would you say Tom might have a better deep arm, wouldn't you say? I mean, would you say it's probably pretty close, but would you say Tom's got a little better arm than Peyton did overall?
I think so. I remember when Peyton was coming out of college, watching him at Tennessee, you know, he's always had, you know, what they call happy feet. Some quarterback gurus like that. Some don't.
Right.
You know, they don't want you standing just flat-footed. But
they're always like tapping in there. They're always moving.
They like to be a little quieter. But he's always had these really anxious feet.
Yeah.
And I wondered how that would translate, you know, to the NFL. And he's continued to do it. I mean, nothing has really changed. You know, I thought that he would have a really good, great, however you say it. I thought he'd have a really nice career, Peyton, when he was coming out of Tennessee, but never would have projected. Of course, who would you ever project to have the career that he's had? But I never would have imagined that he would have come in and been able to do the things that he's been able to do, and it's been terrific. Peyton is a friend of mine, and I have great admiration for all that he's been able to do.
And they both handle so much. They both are able to change their attacks and take so much to the line of scrimmage. Peyton, I think, is better underneath than anybody I've ever seen. He leads guys underneath better than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, he is so great at that. And he doesn't have the arm strength he used to, but he does such a great job of reacting and leading guys, and they both bring so much. Like, I loved what Brady did in the third quarter the other night when they went to that jumbo look and then started reacting with the running game and then throwing against the running game. I mean, it's nice to see them almost change their complete game plan in the second half of a game. Those guys can do stuff like that.
Well, they can. And, I remember I was on the field a few years ago when Peyton was with Indianapolis, and we were getting ready for a game. I believe it was against Green Bay. And at the last minute on the field, a player got injured for the Packers in the secondary, and there was talk that he was not going to be able to play, and he was not. And I was visiting with Peyton. Peyton said, "Hey, I just heard so-and-so is down," and it was like their third corner or something, and he knew immediately who was going to be coming in for that guy and what it would then mean to the fifth receiver when he came in. It's just the preparation and the study is pretty amazing.